Support for the Living Wisdom podcast is provided by In Touch Pharmaceuticals, a long-term care pharmacy committed to meeting the specialized pharmaceutical needs of their clients. Visit intouchpharma.com.
Am I keeping my loved one who is walking through this journey with dementia safe? That is probably a huge question that you have on your mind, and we're going to talk about it right now. I'm Karsten alongside Deb Carriveau. There are a lot of things people can do right now to kind of change a few things.
Absolutely.
Up, right?
So one of the big stressors that caregivers have is, how do I keep my person safe, particularly as the disease progresses. What your loved one needs now at the beginning of the diagnosis is going to look very different than as they progress or evolve. So what I want to talk about today is let's just look at what some of the things in your living space might be that put your loved one at risk as they're on this journey and going through this process. And having identified those things, what can we do now to kind of plan and prepare for those things? So the first thing I would look at is anything that you would consider potentially dangerous for a child under the age of 12 is going to be the same kind of considerations that you need to look at for your loved one with dementia. And the reason is not because your 80-year-old mom is now a 12-year-old. That's not what we're saying, but how her brain is being impacted by the disease process and how she's going to understand and be able to grasp decisions that she makes and how that puts her at risk is going to change. And so looking at things like your stove, okay? Is there a way to remove knobs on your stove so that your loved one cannot turn on and off the stove? They will start to lose sensation. They won't necessarily recognize that something's hot and they shouldn't touch it. So looking at things like stove tops, coffee pots that stay hot, toasters that once you use them is hot, pots and pans on the top of your stove that potentially somebody could grab a hold of, move, spill, those kinds of things. So all of that kind of information, microwaves. Okay, people with dementia don't necessarily understand not to put something metal in a microwave and they'll blow it up. So it's really important to just see things from a different perspective than typically you would look at your environment. The other thing is look at obstacles, physical obstacles in your environment. Look at what is their walking path. What does that look like? Oftentimes what you and I can navigate around in a space is very different than what someone with dementia is going to be able to navigate. Their depth perception changes. Their balance changes. Their center of gravity can shift. Their gait will become very shuffling. So it's very easy for them to trip over things, to run into things. So the more open you can make your environment in terms of their ability to navigate it physically and to walk around things, the safer it's going to be for them. The other thing is to look at what in your environment might have very severe, sharp corners on things. People with dementia will fall. That's part of what comes with the disease process. But the more you can eliminate those sharp corners, those things they might get caught on their shin, those things can be very, very harmful. Because if I fall and hit a corner, I'm going to have a really big gouge taken out of my skin versus something that's a more rounded, passive kind of surface that won't necessarily do that to me. So kind of look at it with different eyes and take a look. The other thing is look at what are the things on your floor like. So throw rugs that are loose or able to be moved. It's very easy for people with dementia when they develop that shuffling gait to catch their toes, to trip on things. If you're going to keep throw rugs, so lots of times I know people might want to keep a bath mat on the floor in the bathroom in front of the bathtub, or some kind of a rug or runner in a space in your home. If you're going to do that, then use some two-sided tape on it so that you can try to anchor it and it's less likely to curl up or to get tripped on. So particularly if you have a loved one using any kind of assistive device as well. So if they have a rollating walker that they're trying to navigate through their environment, that walker is going to get caught on things that are loose on the floor.
Yeah.
So just kind of start to think about that, perspective of looking at things. Another challenge is always wandering. People with dementia oftentimes have this overwhelming need to want to go someplace or to leave an environment that's safe, and they don't understand. A lot of times they don't necessarily recognize the environment they're in as home, and they want to go home. So it's not unusual for caregivers to try to be dealing with keeping their loved one inside a safe space. And particularly sometimes we have, folks with dementia who are night wanderers. So some things I would consider is, number one, if you are locking doors, you might want to take a look at moving your locks up the door, right? So having an additional lock high up where it's going to be out of the field of vision for people living with dementia. The other thing is take a look at, there are all kinds of what we call pressure pads or pressure alarms that people can obtain. So a really good one is to put that pressure pad in front of your loved one's side of the bed. So if they get up and put their feet on that pad and try to stand up and go somewhere, it's going to sound an alarm so that you're aware. Same kind of thing you can get for your doors, exits that, someplace like Radio Shack, or you can get them online where you can put an alarm box up on your door, and as soon as that door opens, it pulls loose the string and you're going to get an audible sound. So it's alerting you to the fact that your loved one may be trying to leave the premises. Okay.
Sounds like this is the perfect one to reach out to you guys for specifics too,
Right,
because there's
right.
just so
There's
much you can
so
do.
much. And the other thing I want people to know is, that we've just scratched the surface of all the things that potentially could be risk factors, just to get people to start thinking about it. Looking at outdoor spaces, locks on outdoor gates, confining and getting rid of all the power tools and the mowers in the garage that somebody might be tempted to engage with. So the other thing I want to put on the table is just let people know we are willing to come out and do a home assessment and meet with people one-on-one about what their environment potentially could look like in terms of risks for loved ones, and also just have phone conversations with people about things to consider. We don't have enough time in this one individual, space to be able to give you all the possibilities in terms of what risk factors might look like. But what we do want to really encourage people to do is reach out to us and let us help you develop and identify risk factors in your living space, and we'll help you know how to manage those safely as possible.
Support for the Living Wisdom podcast is provided by In Touch Pharmaceuticals, a long-term care pharmacy committed to meeting the specialized pharmaceutical needs of their clients. Visit intouchpharma.com.